Hello, everyone. This is Rebecca Green for the Whiny Palooza podcast, and I am very excited today because I get to talk to the lovely Donna C. Moss. Donna, thank you so much for doing this with me today.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm really thrilled to be here. I love doing this.
You guys are going to love her. You're going to love her topic. This is so needed. Let me tell you a little bit about Donna. She is a licensed therapist with 30 years of experience helping adolescents, young adults, and families navigate life's challenges. Her expertise spans anxiety, stress management, parenting strategies, and teen mental health. Beyond her private practice, Donna serves as clinical supervisor at Solace House USA and has led leadership roles at major organizations, including the Leukemia Society of America and online communities at iVillage.com, WeightWatchers.com, and Disney.com. Oh my God, she said Disney. Anyways, her approach translates complex therapeutic concepts into practical strategies for everyday parenting challenges, with a special focus on adolescent mental health in today's digital world. I told you how needed you are. So needed. This is perfect for our audience today. I think we have mostly mothers who are looking for your guidance. And I have so many questions, but I want to start with, what do you think some of the biggest mental health challenges you're seeing in teens today?
Right. So they've been talking about this uptick in teen anxiety on the news a lot. And it seemed to start before the pandemic, but get exacerbated by the pandemic. So since my focus was already like teens and young adults with anxiety, partly because I was a teen and young adult with anxiety, it was a perfect match for the times. And so I've been very busy ever since.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
it's so rare that someone, I'm not going to say this. I was going to say it's rare that someone doesn't have anxiety.
yeah,
You don't
right.
hear that. That's terrible.
Right. They should. I know. That's very, very true, though. Really,
Oh,
there's like two kinds that I see with the young people. There's this sort of existential, like, what that is the world even going to be here, which is
oh,
really tough. And
yes.
then there's the more like the day to day, like I have to stand in front of the whole class and that kind of
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
Yes. So I want to go back to you if I'm allowed to. And if you
Sure.
think about yourself as an
Hmm.
anxious adolescent,
Hmm.
what do you think you needed to not be anxious?
Well, the first thing I would say is that I would have needed someone to just tell me, like, this is a thing. Like,
Mm,
oh, you might have a little anxiety or you might have a little depression, especially in your 20s, as there are so many transitions. But no one told me. So I was like,
right.
what's going on? Like, I mean, I was in a sophisticated home that was quite liberal and offered me lots of opportunities to have therapy, etc. But I still was like clueless about my own needs. I just
Yeah,
kind of brushed it off so I could just be a teenager.
I totally understand that. Well, and I think as mothers, we want to best support our teens.
Mhm.
So, what do you think that we can do as the mom at home with our kids to help them through their anxiety?
Right. So some of the things I talk about with these kids, let's say the older teens and the young adults. First, for back to basics,
Yeah.
okay? Let's talk about your daily routine and structure. Now, that might sound a little dry for them, but for me and pretty much everyone I work with, it's important.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a plan, a schedule, a hobby, a thing every single day. Um, Otherwise, you lose your motivation. Like if you avoid everything, then you don't learn anything. You don't grow. And I hate seeing young people like that. So I'm like, get a hobby. It could be anything, you know?
I couldn't agree more. And I will tell you from my own experience with my own children that, I'm just going to give you an example. So, a child who how do I say this? Overworks and is like over anxious about like all the stuff. So like has all the activities, has all the classes,
Mhm.
and just feels like it's all like a lot.
Right. So that's my other one, the high achieving anxious. I get a lot of those because I live in suburban New York City, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
you see a lot of kids who are just go, go, go. And like, it really helps to normalize for them. Like, this is
Mm.
normal. You're doing a lot, pause, slow down, be good to yourself, self compassion. Like, it's not a race. It's not a race. Some people are lucky. They're born like, I want to be a doctor, and that's it. But the rest of us have to stumble around for a while.
Yeah,
So you have to allow for that trial and error and experimentation to learn.
I love
And
that.
then the other big thing is sleep, of course. Like,
Oh,
half of them are nocturnal, so
mm.
that's a no-go in this society unless you're on the night shift, which one or two of my clients happen to be, which I can't even imagine what that is. But
No.
you gotta get up on time and you gotta go to bed on time every day. Otherwise, all bets are off.
You need to say that again to me. I was so tired this morning. I said to my daughter on the way to school, I gotta go to bed earlier.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, every summer I go through it with these kids. They have to tweak their schedule. Otherwise, they can barely think straight, and it affects their mood considerably.
Well, and it's so simple yet so complex that
Right.
the lack of sleep is a huge factor in
Hmm.
anxiety. I
Right.
mean, if I don't sleep for a night, if I toss and turn all
Mhm.
night, I feel so anxious the next day.
Of course. Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Same. So it's very important to pay attention to those basics first, and then we could talk about the phones and the world, the world that we live in.
Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the digital world and social media and how is it affecting our children?
Right. So there's a wonderful lady named Lisa Damour. She's a psychologist, and she's really written some books on this topic, how to engage with the teen sort of attitude. And that's also what I'm trying to do. Now, there's a guy named Jonathan Haidt out of NYU, and he wrote a book called The Anxious Generation, and he nailed it. He really nailed it. He said the ubiquity of the phones around 2010, 2011, and then the fear-based parenting, like stranger danger and don't go out and you can't, doesn't matter what you're doing on the phone or the console or whatever, but don't go out. That combo got married together and
Mm,
made fearful children slash adults.
yeah,
So
I
he's
read
all
that book.
about just, yeah, go outside and play. Just go, take the phones at school. It's proven so simple. Okay, so you can't have it during school. That I don't think that's a terrible idea at all. And then take it at 10 o'clock, shut it down. That's it. It help. It works.
Yeah. I mean, I have my own thoughts about
Hmm.
phones at school. I just see how it has settled my own child's anxiety having her phone
Yeah,
with her. It's
yeah.
interesting that he's talking about how it causes the anxiety, whereas I see how it settled her anxiety. I understand what he's saying, though.
No, I think that's a wonderful point that you're making. That 99.9% of the parents will say to me, "No, no, I need to know where she is."
Mm,
And I get that. I have two young adult girls in this world as well, and I don't have them on Find My Friends or Life 360 because they wouldn't allow it, and they said it would make me too anxious, which is absolutely true. Um,
know
but
that.
I understand. I always thought technology was good. I was an early adopter. I worked in the internet space, in the early days. I thought there was so much potential. But as it turns out, girls spend twice as much time as boys do on that thing.
Mm,
And
terrible.
the perfectionism just seems to get under their skin.
Oh, the fact that they don't realize what they're trying to achieve from what they see on social media is what upsets me the most. The
Hmm.
pictures and the
Yeah.
images
The
and what,
curating.
yes, yes, that is
It's
the most
so
upsetting.
bad for their little self-esteem for whatever all the reasons that we can study. It's just it's just bad for them. Um,
Yeah.
and I have kids who will spend entire sessions saying things like, "He didn't put a like on my picture, even though I knew he was on his phone at that time."
Oh my God, this is what everyone's upset about. All these kids are looking at who's liking their posts.
Right, right. And now, you know what I do? I actually laugh at them. I go, "Ha ha ha, that is so funny. That is not important." Like, what are you talking about? Nobody cares. And furthermore, they're also self-absorbed in their own issues. They're not going to notice that you have a pimple over here. It's just magnification, amplification of all the already teen insecurities.
Oh my gosh, you nailed it.
Yeah.
So how do we know as moms if and parents, I'm sure there's fathers
Hmm.
listening, how do we know that when our kid is suffering from anxiety that's kind of normal and when they're
Hmm.
suffering from something that needs more professional help?
That is the best question ever. And so the thing is, like, I see it on a spectrum, and I've been doing it for a long time. So if I hear of something that gives me a red flag in my brain, in my body, in my experience, in my learning, okay, that does not get ignored. And then in the therapy, I try to get the child's buy in. Hey, this doesn't sound right to me. Do you mind if we bring your parents in? And they're in the driver's seat and they can say yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times they say yes. And then they have a wonderful outcome when the parents come in a couple of sessions because they can finally unburden some of the anxiety.
That makes so much
But
sense.
but there's other kids who are skating on the edge of a red flag.
Yeah.
It all sounds pretty normal. I try to normalize a lot of it for them. We all were teenagers once.
Yes.
But if it's just going along, sometimes I don't call in the parents like at 15, 16, 17. It's just a kid who needs to talk.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
mean, as a mother, I would say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is it interfering with their daily function? Is that the
correct.
correct question?
Yes, I use functionality as a barometer a lot.
Mm, mm,
Do you get up? Do you go to school? Do you eat your breakfast? Do you get good grades? You know what? Good enough for me. If
agree.
but if there's self-harm in the mix, if there's
Mm,
blacking out in the mix, if there's questionable judgment in the mix, those are the red flags.
makes so much sense.
So being a professional means you're not judging them, but you're alert to these red flags.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so what do we want parents not to do? What is going to totally backfire?
Of course, it's individual, but you know, a lot of these kids do need more support. Like they look and sound like they're mature, but
Mm,
they still need a lot of hand holding, even in the early 20s. And it just hurts me when I see the parents sort of drop off. And then, like, I have a client now whose parents, the whole time of high school, were like, go, 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 not good enough. You got to amp it up for college, etc. And she happens to be a minority, and the first generation that would go to college. And then she finally gets a couple of good schools, and the parents are like, oh, we forgot to save money. We're not, like, you're on your own. Or we can't afford to pay for your food if you go. Like, what? It's like one hand pushes and the other, you know, abandons. There's not, where is the support for this incredible transition?
I think that there are some unrealistic expectations. It's
Yeah.
interesting that parents are like, they're 18. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, they're still so
No,
young.
I don't think so. I mean, I know another kid I was working with, same thing. She got herself to a good college, and then one of the parents said, "Oh yeah, I can't pay my half. It was a divorce situation." Well, what do you mean you can't? That's why you got all the lawyers. You wrote it down. You have an agreement. It's 50-50. Like what? You're just going to drop it now that they're in college?
Yeah,
It's
that's a whole nother level of stress, isn't it?
it's horrible. Yeah, it really hurts me when these kids can't complete or compete because they're just skating along the margins.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we know that our kids are out in the world doing all the things. My kids are in school and in the activities, and, I
Mhm.
want them to come home. We all want to create a really stress-free, safe home environment.
Mm, mm,
So, how can we do that? How can we make the home less stressful?
mm. Yeah, I think a lot of kids are holding a lot of pain and stress
Mm,
of the parents,
yes,
of the family, and I think it needs to get like a release valve, you
like
know,
that.
and help them just like a lot of times, like we weren't like fabulously wealthy, but my kids would say, like, I really want to do this one thing. Okay,
Mm,
you earn some money, I'll earn some money. Let's go 50-50. Be creative. Think outside the box. You want to go to a school in, I don't know, Canada? Let's work on it. Let's see. Let's call, see if they have something like advocate for yourself, be creative, in, invest the time.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, there's so many solutions to problems.
Yeah, yeah. I like to be practical with them.
Mm.
Problem solving, a lot of that. Yeah.
There's so much to learn about it, and they don't instantly know how to problem solve.
Right, exactly. They um their brains are not ready for prime time. But
Good way
they
to
don't
say it.
they don't realize. So there's a lot of bumps along the way from like high school to college.
Well, and moms talk to me all the time about the mental load. They're stressed out, they're
Mhm.
anxious, they have so much on their plate, and then
Right.
they have to deal with their children's issues too.
Right.
So, how can moms help themselves better to be able to help their kids?
Right. That's a great question. Of course they always say like you got to put on your oxygen mask first or fill your cup
Yes.
first. And I learned that too late, like everybody else. And
Yeah.
one mom came to me for divorce mediation, which I do with my husband, and she said I demand 150K for all the forms I filled out the whole time for the kids, which
Oh my
it's
gosh.
probably true, the amount of time we spend just on forms.
Oh
Like I
my
was
God.
could jump out a window from all the forms. Like all the, you know? So you're okay. So yes, the moms the perspective is has to be away from perfectionism. We're back to that again. Like yeah, it's competitive. We know the world is competitive. And we know you have to honor your own needs as well. And the only way to do that in your 20s is trial and error. You have to take a risk to be happy. And there's an excellent podcast, TED Talk by a lady named Meg J. She's a
Mm,
psychologist, and she talks about your 20s. It's it's not a throwaway time. It's a time to build on your experiences. And then you set yourself up so that when you wake up and you're 30, you're not like, oh, shoot, I forgot to, do all the things.
the 20s were not easy, you
No,
know.
not for
They
me.
they were not easy at all. You're still finding yourself and you're still
Mm-hmm.
so young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I fumbled so many times, but it was a lot of growth too. A lot of growth.
Yes. Yes,
And then,
100%.
of course, sometimes there's just a genetic load, never
Mm.
mind the mother load or whatever. But there is, a piece that's genetic. We don't know. Is it 50% or we don't know, right? But some people are born with more challenges. We
Yes, that
also have
is
to
true.
acknowledge that as well.
Yes. 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 So, what do you wish that parents knew about teens' mental health?
Yeah, I wish that they would not be so self-absorbed. Like if they're getting a divorce or
Mm.
if they're into their own thing, that's great. But just remember that these kids do have a lot on their plates to navigate, and just um, try to lighten up with them. Try to give them that space to make mistakes.
Yeah. It's interesting. I see the moms who are very into their own stuff, and I see
Hmm.
the moms who don't have any of their own stuff. I see both.
Right. Right. But somewhere in the middle, of course, is
Yes.
where we want to be. Yeah. And the parents had different styles around here where I live. And they're always judging each other. This one's too loose and this one's too much. But ultimately, we see that it all backfires if you don't just listen to.
That's the best word. That is the best word.
Yeah.
They want us to listen. And I love what you said about too loose, not too loose, because I want to ask you about boundaries, because I think
Mm-hmm.
that we want to give teens room and we want them to gain independence, but we also want to give them boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
how do we balance that?
Right. So again, I mean, I like to get like the whole picture of the kid. Like, do they have friends? How are they doing in school? How's their relationship with mom and dad and siblings? And again, if most of those things are going along, great. They're going to they'll get through it. But the other ones who are suffering, um, they will tell you they feel really isolated and alone and scared. And they're afraid to try any of these things. I had a young adult who's like 26 and she went for a job interview and she was convinced that she failed it. And she was sobbing and sobbing and crying to me. I've known her for many years and it was heartbreaking, but she got the job.
It's like my daughter who tells us she failed and then gets 100.
Right? The next day she got, so what is going on? Like that you are
Yeah.
so freaked out. She had a full on panic.
Oh,
So it's like, okay, we can help ourselves to also regulate just by all
mm.
this simple mindfulness stuff. I know it sounds cheesy, but it
No,
works.
no. Tell us about the mindfulness stuff because it's super important.
Right. So anything that puts you back in touch with your breath and your body
Mm.
helps to regulate your nervous system. And we've known this for decades, but everybody's too busy to even practice a 5-minute meditation.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, it could be, walking, hiking, singing, laughing, making a picture. Just take the time, schedule the time to do something that just puts you in the flow. Like self care doesn't mean like lying on the couch like a zombie, it just means putting your phone down and smell the roses and all that stuff. And it
Yes.
It really helps regulate. There's a thing they called the vagus nerve in the back of the neck, and it has all these nerve endings that go all the way down your spine. And if you, do these things, everything, your whole system calms down. Then
Hmm.
you could do the mental work, like, oh, I better not say that anymore or do that anymore. Then they have better access to their brains. Because
Yes.
when the teen brain is all flooded with emotions, what do you think happens? Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I
And
know for me that when I take a walk, and if it's outside especially, I can't
mhm,
believe how much better my whole body feels.
absolutely. Exercise is like the number one antidepressant.
Yes.
And
Yes.
even that, it's like for some people, it's like pulling teeth. And I understand, if you're depressed, you by definition can't just jump up and do, you know, jumping jacks. You can't. But otherwise, you got to keep trying to move your body.
Agree. Well, and I think one of the biggest challenges with teens that I would say is what I see is getting them to talk to you and open
Hmm.
up.
Hmm.
Can we give the parents some advice to the ones who tell me that they can't get their kids to talk to
Sure, of course. So, um, the one that's like another cliche is like in the car, right?
them? Mm,
Because you don't have to make eye contact. They love to talk when they're in the car, in my experience. So, also you don't, particularly in divorce, a lot of times the other parent will take both kids for the weekend. Maybe just take one. Get to know the kid. Give them lots of attention just by themselves. You know, there's other um, ideas available. If you can't be consistent for every Thursday night, then be consistent for what you can be consistent for. Consistency is another huge name of the game. You know, just keeps them feeling safer.
yes, that's a great advice. I tried to get my son to answer some questions last night, and I was like, nope, not a good time. I will try another time.
Right, 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 right. Yeah. What other things can you do to encourage communication? Um, I think being open and honest with yourself, being open and honest about with your relationship, your adult relationships. Um, Boys are particularly hard because they basically won't go to therapy, a lot of them, unless I don't know what, they don't like it. And they're behind those video games all the time,
Mhm. Yeah.
and
My friend
girls,
says her son gives her one word answers all the time, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
understand.
yeah. They just don't have that bandwidth. Some kids get exhausted from school.
Yes. It's a good
Um,
point.
some kids don't eat right. Always be curious, not judgmental. That's the
I
thing.
like
Like,
that.
yeah, I tell them, you could tell me anything. It's not going to shock me. It's okay. I'm not going to tattletale on you. You got to build that trust.
Very good advice. I think that they're spending so much time online with their friends at
Mhm.
school. Our influence gets less and less, I think.
Yes.
So, how
Yeah.
do we still have the time with them, the meaningful connection with them?
Mm.
How do we get time with our team?
Well, that's another excellent question. You just, I think it's just sometimes in the little moments. Like, it's not like we have to have dinner every night at 6:15 or else. I mean,
Yeah,
mo-
yeah,
you just try to push into the moments.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do think we look at it too big and too planful when there's lots of
Mhm.
little moments to capture.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Especially even with suicide, which I
Oh,
deal with as well. I mean, it's really, sometimes it really does look like that kid had no problems. What are you talking about? Really sometimes looks that
yeah,
so hard to grasp.
yeah.
So when the sadness becomes darkness and then out, no way out, That's sometimes what we see.
Terrible.
Yeah.
My husband
Well,
likes to
and
go
yeah,
ahead. No,
no,
you go.
so I remind them to go to the doctor. You'd be amazed how many kids haven't didn't go during the pandemic, etc.
Oh my
You know,
goodness.
you could be treating a kid for depression and find out that no, they're just iron deficient.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a
please,
good point.
yeah, check in with your doctor if it's really not going away, any of these things.
Yeah, no, that's a good thought. That's really good. I was just going to tell you that my husband makes fun of me because I call it forced family fun. That my three kids are like, I'm busy. And I'm like, no, we are going out together today.
Yeah, yeah. That's really sweet. That's really sweet. I mean, I tried to give my kids a lot of um, freedom.
Yes.
Um, but my biggest regret was not taking those phones away at night. Um, I think they would have read more. I think they would have slept more. I
Yeah,
think they
that's true.
would have improvised more.
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend who's very strict, and at 9 o'clock every night she takes their phones, and
Mhm.
I like that she does that. I will tell you at 9 o'clock, I can hear my daughter on the phone with her friends
Yeah,
while I'm winding down.
right, exactly. I know one of my clients told me she keeps the FaceTime on all night with a group of friends,
I have
but
heard
they're
that.
just
Yeah,
sleeping.
yeah. Oh yeah, I've heard that before. Not my children, but I have heard
Uh-huh.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, crazy.
I never
Absolutely.
heard that before. Yeah.
I know. I know. Oh boy, I feel like I asked you so many questions. What
So
do you think?
many good questions
I'm
though.
so glad.
Yeah.
Anything I didn't ask you that you think is important for people?
Yeah, keep in mind that there's a lot of black and white thinking in this age group as well.
Yes.
And
Yes.
continuing through the 20s, and we all know that boys develop even later. So it's not surprising to listen for this. When I work with young adults, you hear a lot of it like I'm either going to get this promotion or I'm going to go in a black hole. That's it. Black and white. So I always call that out when we're chatting. Like, do you see how you're going to extremes with this?
Yes, that's great. That's great to point that out. I
And
definitely,
that's because even the kid could be in advanced math, but
yeah.
she doesn't understand nuance and gray areas and uncertainty and ambiguity. And some days I like my friends and some days I hate them. Much more complicated.
Yeah, and I think gray areas is the perfect
Mhm.
subject because people need to learn that there's lots of gray.
Right, right.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough. I feel like I really had so many questions to ask you.
Well, I really appreciate your questions completely synced up with how I work. So I really appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you and I love what you're doing and I know how needed it is what you're doing.
Thank thank you. Well, I made a course. It's on my website,
Oh,
donnacymoss.com.
tell us. Yes, tell us all the things. Anything else you want to tell everyone so they
No,
can.
that's the big thing is this course. It's also you can get credit for it, two credits in New York for social workers or mental health. Uh,
Wonderful.
and yeah, it's like a 2 hour class that I pre-recorded, and now made it available off my website.
Awesome. Well, I need continuing ed, so I'm going to go do it.
Go
And
do it.
what about people being able to see you? Are you taking new clients?
Yeah, yeah. You can also reach out to me through the website. I'm taking new clients. I'm in New York, and I'm also licensed in Vermont.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Donna. I loved talking to you.
You too. I can't wait to do it again.
This is Rebecca Green, and I want to remind everyone to spend every day laughing, learning, and loving. Thank you for tuning in to the Whiny Palooza podcast. If you like what you heard,
Please be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. While you are there, leave a review. I love to hear your feedback. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.